If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
In this episode of Mind Pump. So in this episode, we answer questions about fitness, health, fat loss, muscle building, but we also have some introductory current events conversation. Here's what we talked about in the first 42 minutes introductory portion of this episode. First, Adam talks about his pork butt. He got some pork.
Chow down on
He got some high quality pork butt from Butcher Box. Made it in a crock pot with rice and some other things. Sounds like a very delicious recipe. Now, Butcher Box delivers to your door grass-fed and high-quality meats and fish products. In fact, right now, if you sign up at Butcher Box, you'll get 2 pounds of 100% grass-fed ground beef, 2 packs of bacon, and $20 off your first box. They also have wild sea scallops right now and a pack of Butcher Box bacon for only $20. Anyway, they are one of our sponsors. If you go to butcherbox.com/mindpump, you'll get all those things I talked about and a discount. Then we talked about the Jeffrey Epstein controversy.
Ooh, here we go. All the conspiracies.
Super. We're all completely shocked that he committed suicide. Nobody could have predicted that.
Wow, that came out of left field.
Then we talked about China and how they developed the first monkey-human chimera. That's a crossbreed between monkeys and humans.
Yet another thing Alex Jones
was right about.
Was right.
I feel like that's a sci-fi movie, right?
It
Something
totally
like that
has
happened.
to be.
Then we talked about tardigrades. Those are those little water bear creatures that can survive anywhere. Apparently, Israel shot up a satellite. It crashed on the moon. Now the moon has been seeded with these little creatures.
Water bears on the moon.
That's crazy. Then I talked about the chimp who did the American Ninja Warrior obstacle course and crushed it.
I loved this conversation.
It's so great. I talked about how the chili pad that goes on your bed and allows you to cool or warm your bed with no EMF signals really is improving my sleep. We have a massive discount for you. If you go to Chili Technology, that's CHILI technology.com/mindpump, you can see the codes on that page to get discounts for all of their products. Then we talked about Justin's 49er game. He took his kids to the 49ers. That was nice.
Yeah.
I talk about
momentous.
I talk about how Jessica and I visited Adam's little boy Maximus. We had made a nice little visit this weekend. Got to see the baby. I talked about how I had McDonald's French fries for the first time in 10 years. It's exactly as amazing as I remembered they would be. We talked about Target's pricing. Apparently, the price will tell you a lot about the product, whether or not it's below wholesale, at wholesale, or above wholesale. And then we talked about how Amazon now has an influencer program. So if you're a social media influencer, you can make some side money by going to Amazon. Then we answered some questions. The first question we answered was, is it ever appropriate to train a certain body part for strength while training other body parts for endurance? In other words, do you have to train your whole body the same way, or can you mix it up? And what are the benefits? The next question, this person wanted to know what our opinion was on Weight Watchers. Is Weight Watchers an effective weight loss program? What are the pros and what are the cons? The next question, how would you apply our MAPS workout programs to kids and teenagers? So we give it some advice for those of you who have kids or teens that want to work out. And the final question, this person wants to hear about how we met our significant others. So we talk all about that in that part
schmoozy, giggly
of the episode. Also, this month, for the first time ever, MAPS Prime and MAPS Prime Pro are 50% off. Now, MAPS Prime is the program that helps you individualize your priming session, also known as your warm-up. Now, why is this important? Well, if you warm your body up according to how you move, you will get better muscle activation, better mobility. You will make your current workout much more effective. In fact, if you warm up the wrong way, it could do the opposite. So you want to make sure you prime your body properly. All the best athletes and trainers prime their clients and prime themselves according to their body's movements. Now, Prime Pro is our correctional exercise program that we have. So if you have joint pain, if you want better mobility in particular areas of your body, like your hips or your ankles or your feet or your back or your neck, MAPS Prime Pro is the program for you. Now, if you're a trainer, both programs will bring you tremendous value for you and for your clients. Again, they're both 50% off. Now, the following code I'm going to give you works for both programs, so you can go in and buy both of them if you want for the discount. There is no limit. Here's what you do. Go to mapsfitnessproducts.com and use the code PRIME50. That's PRIME50, no space, for the discount.
T-shirt time!
And it's T-shirt time.
Oh, shit, Doug, you know it's my favorite time of the week.
Ooh-wee. All right, we have 2 winners for iTunes, 2 for Facebook. The iTunes winners are Lidror and KHelper72 for Facebook, Sam Hernandez and Katie Sigurdsson. All of you are winners. Send the name I just read to get your T-shirt to iTunes at mindpumpmedia.com. Send your shirt size, your shipping address, and include your Instagram handle, and we'll get that shirt right out to you.
You won.
How's your Star Wars mic over there working out for you?
It's pretty badass.
Yeah.
I mean, how cool do I look, guys?
Can we not hear you when you do this? I know Doug hates it when I
mean, yeah, it's a lot less. I think Doug started me off first because I'm the most guilty. Like any sort of like bump and interruption, I'm just like,
Is he the worst?
I have
Is
no
he the worst?
filter.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
Wreck-It Ralph.
I knew it.
Wreck-It Ralph.
I knew it. I am not delicate. I know this.
There's not a delicate. You know, they say that a bull in a china shop. That's Justin everywhere.
And I know this because my youngest is just like me.
Is he really?
Oh yeah, dude. He smashes everything and like just walks through the house. He breaks stuff. Like,
now, does that make you more mindful? Because he's probably broken something that's pissed you off or frustrated you or embarrassed you.
Yeah.
So has that made you more mindful yourself now? Like, fuck,
yeah,
dude,
no, it's
a
pure reflection of myself, and I'm like, it's at first I'll get like, I get like angry, and then I realize, oh my god, I do this too, like, all the time. Like if something's barely hanging off the table, it's coming down. Like he'll bump in it somehow.
Do you chip the plates when you wash them and shit?
Yeah, I've done that.
You put them in hella hard.
I've broken a few glasses the last few months.
That's how you get out of dishes.
Yeah.
break a couple of your wife's favorite dishes, and she won't make you do dishes
You
anymore.
know what?
She's given up on that. She's like, yeah, you're just gonna break stuff. That's like part of the cost.
You would make a terrible ninja. You would never be able to sneak up on anyone.
Yeah.
You'd be good at the battle part.
Right.
You know what I mean? But be like,
I don't know. I'm pretty like light on my feet, and I want to be and sneak, but then I would smash.
Yeah, you break something.
Yeah.
On accident.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway.
I don't know how that'd work out.
Anyway, do you guys have good weekends?
Yeah, I went over.
It was fun.
I went and visited my buddy. Well, it was his daughter's first birthday, so we went out there. She did I thought this was pretty cute. They had was it The League of Your Own, the one with Tom Hanks and all the girls?
Oh yeah, great movie.
So he has a daughter, right? So and he has a daughter, but it's so funny. He's a diehard baseball fan. He keeps dressing her up in like boy sports looks and stuff like that. I told him the other day, I'm like, bro, your daughter's so young right now. Like you can't be putting her in like all blue. And in a Dodgers hat, like, people are gonna mistake her as a boy, dude. Like you got to at least get a pink jersey if you're gonna do that shit, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, he wanted to do a baseball theme, and so he did a baseball theme, but they did it a league of their own. So all the girls had like the cute little skirts and the socks, and
Oh, that's cool.
yeah. No, I thought that was really cool. You know what else this weekend? So we've been having people that come either stay with us or have been making food as far as family and friends, like really close friends and family have been incredible, like as far as the support with Maximus. I mean, Katrina and I almost every day have had guests or someone, by the bare minimum, somebody comes by and like drops us off something. And her mom made this dish the other day, and Katrina and I remade it because it was so freaking amazing. And we used the pork butt. And we put it in the
good old pork butt.
Yeah, so we ordered this. So we just changed our butcher box order, and you can get like a 5-pound pork butt in there. So she ordered that on the last order, so it just came in.
That's a big butt.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And we put it in the pot roast.
Piggy got back.
And you let it sit in the pot roast overnight. I mean, you can't.
It's like a crock pot or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Not pot roast. Sorry, the crock pot. That's what I was looking for. And you literally put all we put in there was a little bit of this dill herb, a little bit of pepper, salt, and thyme rub it on the meat, and then just let it sit in the crock pot. Then we did your protein rice.
That's the bone broth instead of water.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
So we did the protein rice, and then we do sliced avocado, and then pink Himalayan salt
Oh,
over that. Bomb.
oh, that sounds so good.
Bomb. And it's great because it's one of those dishes too. Like anytime I can make something that I can eat multiple times in the week over, and it's like it doesn't taste like shit for leftovers. It's one of those leftovers that get better like with the days because the juices and everything.
Marinates in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we cooked up the big old 5-pound pork.
Because I thought about ordering because you can switch your box out on Butcher Box every month if you want, and we went in there and started switching around. And I'm not a huge pork fan. I like bacon a lot, but I'm not a big pork fan. But I did see the pork butt, and I thought that might be good for something like that because it's nice and fatty and probably falls apart.
Oh my god!
So maybe I'll do it then.
Oh yeah, and in the crock pot where it just simmers and gets it all nice and juicy. It's good.
And it complements that protein rice really good. So the combination of all those together.
That's like a bulking meal, man, right there.
Well, that's where I'm at right now, right? I'm trying to put on some size right now, so I'm enjoying the hell out of meals like that.
Have you guys tried the scallops yet? I know Courtney saw that and was like, "Oh, sweet, she loves scallops." They have some deal going on.
Oh, the
now.
bacon wrapped scallops.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I saw that too.
Yeah. I mean, it's a perfect thing. You put them both together, 2 deals, bacon, scallops, and then you can wrap them.
Shellfish are quite healthy. They're high in cholesterol, which I've talked about building muscle, and they're high in nutrients that are valuable. They're hard to get in other types of foods. So every once in a while, you got to throw in a little shellfish in your diet. At least that's what Jessica tells me all the time. So
Yeah,
just know what she
we
says.
go with it.
Did you guys know that moose was really lean meat?
Moose has lean meat.
Who's eating moose?
I'm watching the dude. It's so funny right now. I'm like I'm getting cabin fever.
You're watching everything.
Everything, bro.
Yeah, I know. He was like, dude, did you see this documentary? Like, no, I can't keep up with you, dude.
Bro, it's all. I mean, let's be honest. All I do right now is, Maximus doesn't go outside really for a stroller roll every once in a while. So that's like the break in my day. Otherwise, we're on the couch, dude. And I'm watching movies while he's falling asleep on my chest. So I'm like, I've gone through so many different series right now. I feel like I've seen everything on all of them right now. But I've been watching the Alone, where they've got him up in not Antarctica. They have
Alaska?
him up in Alaska. Thank you. And they have them. They
I
drop
got your back.
Yeah,
Because that would be down.
yeah. So they got him up there, and they're on day 54 right now. And there's, I think, 4 or 5 contestants left. And one of the guys, I think, he got it about day 30. He killed a moose with a bow.
Oh,
He
wow.
killed a moose with a bow?
First time ever on the show, right? So the show's now on, I think, season 7 or something like that. And no one's ever killed big game. It's always been living off of bugs, living off of the
Maybe
squirrels,
fish.
like those are typically and they have certain amount
That'll
of.
feed you for over a year.
So this is what happens though. Supposedly the meat is so lean and he's not getting enough fat that he kills this moose. He thinks he's like won it. Like when he does it back in day 30 or whatever it was when he actually got it, because I think it supplied him like 500 pounds of meat, which
That's
you would think.
insane.
Yeah, but now some of the meat's going to have fatty, like the organs and stuff. Once you're done with that, though, you're stuck with really lean meat.
Plus, it's going to go rancid if you don't,
So
you freeze it.
Well, it freezes out there, so he's okay. But,
okay.
But what happened was, to your points out, he did. He carves off he had all the fat, and he had it all in these jugs, and a Wolverine came and stole it.
Oh,
And they went just for the fat. So then he was stuck with 400 pounds of moose meat, and he was
Too
lean.
yeah. They actually, I can't remember what the term is for it, but hunters and trappers in the winter sometimes would starve to death because all they would be able to catch are like lean meat animals like rabbits, and they weren't able to get enough fat, and so your body literally, because fat is an essential macronutrient.
So that happened to this other girl. So this other girl has been trapping rabbits, and that's what she's been living off. And so they have these, I think it's weekly or bi-weekly check-ins, where they send somebody out there, they check all their vitals, they check their BMI, and they tell them like if they can stay or not.
Protein poisoning. That's part of the
That's
term.
what it is called, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, or rabbit starvation, which was something that was common with trappers. They would actually starve from not having enough
Well,
fat.
so this girl, she's been killing it. Like she's been getting rabbits like crazy, but that's all she's been really eating, that and some berries and stuff. And they actually just pulled her to this last week. They came and they checked her, and they're like, we're worried about your organs shutting down, and you're losing weight too fast, and you don't have enough body fat on you.
Your body starts to eat itself.
Yeah.
It is not a good position to be in. If you're in a situation like that, you want to aim for fat, not protein, because you can get away with having a little bit of protein, but fat, you know.
Yeah, I found that interesting. I've watched the season
Go for
before.
those fat seals, out there with all the blubber.
I thought for sure this guy would win when he caught a moose. I'm like 500 pounds. This dude's got enough to last him for the next year.
But he lost the fat to a wolverine.
Yeah,
and a wolverine apparently.
Those are the toughest little bastards out there.
Like you let him take it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
You don't want to mess with a wolverine.
Yeah, he actually killed it a couple nights later afterwards. He set up a thing to wake him up, and then he came out and he actually fucking got it.
Whoa.
Damn, this guy's a badass.
Yeah,
He
I
is
was
a
gonna
badass.
say,
Yeah,
damn.
that's a cool season. It's actually a cool season to watch. My other two best friends are like huge into it, and I got back into watching it this last season because I was like fucking surfing for shit to watch.
Oh, dude!
Sucked me in.
By the way, how do you guys like the conspiracy theory shit coming out with this Jeffrey Epstein thing?
Yeah. Did we not call that? I mean, I'm sure everybody called that, but it's just like, come on,
dude. Now, I'm not a huge conspiracy theory person. I think they're interesting and fun, but the reality is, at the end of the day, it's usually the most simple explanation is the right explanation. So I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy, but boy, does this one just keep making itself harder to like it makes itself
It's blatant. It's like right in our face.
Let's walk through this a little bit. Okay, so dude goes in, right? And
okay, so you got to start from the beginning. He was a sex trafficker of underage girls.
Right.
He's a billionaire. A lot of people don't know how he got a lot of his
and he
money.
flew high-profile people to this island.
Connected to some of the most powerful people in the world on both sides of the aisle. Right. So Republicans, Democrats.
Kevin Spacey, Bill Clinton.
Yes, actors, actresses, politicians from other countries, royalty. He's connected to Prince, I think it was Henry. Wow. He's connected to people in at the upper echelon of like the Catholic Church. Like this guy's got crazy connections everywhere. There's flight logs of like Bill Clinton was on his flight log flying on his private jet to his private island that a lot of people said is where he had a lot of these underage girls. I don't know how many times he flew on it. Something like a dozen times, 20-something times.
26.
And many of those times without his Secret Service, which is very, very weird. But anyway, there's a lot of weird shit around this guy, right? He goes down for some one of those crimes, but they don't go after the big stuff. He gets off real easy. Then years later, they go after him again. And so now he's like, fuck, now he's screwed, right? Yeah. They put him in prison. He tries to commit suicide, fails. So now here's the protocol. If you're in federal prison and you try to commit suicide and you fail, they put
24/7 watch.
24/7 suicide watch.
Yes, both camera and guard.
You have no shoelaces in your room. Your sheets are thin like paper. They rip so you can't hang yourself.
Yeah.
24/7 they're watching. But they didn't put him in that. For some reason, he wasn't on suicide watch. So they put him in this federal thing that they check on every 30 minutes. So every 30 minutes he gets checked on. Apparently he had a cellmate. This is what I've read so far. For some reason, they removed the cellmate. So now he's by himself. Mm-hmm. And the guards didn't check on him. And, oh, by the way, the camera that records, that's surveillance, 24/7 surveillance, malfunctioned.
Oh, whoops.
So
dude, this is just detective work. This is not conspiracy. This is just do detective work.
This is HBO special, bro.
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
It's just not, you can't equate this to flat earth. Dude. You know, like that's what pisses me off. This is real shit.
Now, what do you, okay, so let's have fun with the conspiracy. What do you think? I'll tell you what my if this was a conspiracy, here's my theory. My theory is that he was so afraid of the shit that they were going to find.
Yeah, he might have killed himself.
That he just killed himself.
They let him though.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's what I think. I think you're right. I think that he's
just fucked.
He probably did kill himself, but they probably let him kill himself. And it was like, listen, we're going to get our hands on you.
Cyanide pills.
This is what's going to.
Why would they turn the camera and everything? Maybe because they provided him with everything that he needed.
Yes, right.
They're like, hey, by the way, we're not going to be watching. Here's a rope.
My favorite meme was Hillary with a mustache. Last visitor
and
log.
a glass.
I was dying when I saw that. Oh, so good,
dude. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I think is going to happen? So before every election, right before, there's always some crazy controversy that comes out. Now, usually what happens is the politicians know about this controversy and they save it. What do they call it? The October surprise. They save it.
There's a name for it?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Well, it's like collateral.
No. It's called the October surprise. Doug could look this up.
Okay.
In every election, there's always something that comes out right before it's time to vote.
The dirt.
And it's always to sway the election. For example, the last one was Hillary Clinton's emails getting, the investigation getting reopened. They called that the
Well, then the grab by the pussy like video that all of a sudden surfaced.
that was the other side
Yeah,
one, right? So I think that there's going to be, what does it say up there?
Oh my
on
God, there's a
Wikipedia?
real. I didn't even
Any
know there's a real
political
thing.
event
see,
orchestrated.
yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing. I mean, I knew it was a thing, but I didn't know that it
Well,
turned.
no. So both sides have their when they have their strategic, meetings or whatever. What they do is they say, okay, here's what we have. Here's what we're going to work on now. Here's what we're going to work on in the next
Here's
quarter.
what they're going to get us with.
Yeah.
Here's how we're going to counter that.
Yeah, because what you want to do is you want to drop something at the right moment. Because what ends up happening is it gets a lot of outrage, but then it wears off.
Right,
So
right.
you have to drop it at the right moment. I think there's going to be some crazy shit that's going to come out around all this stuff.
My conspiracy has always been with any politician, like even to get the office, you have to have like something that you have to willingly give them as blackmail.
Ooh.
In order to even get into the ring.
I like that theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we'll let you win, but we gotta have some shit
We're
on
gonna
you.
have this, so then we'll use this when we want.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, like they'll concede to that. Like,
That's not a bad-
backdoor meeting.
that's-
So I heard that there's a lot of things that like both sides are so guilty of that there's like mutual agreements going
That
in
they won't fuck with
They
it.
won't fuck.
This might be one of them.
So yeah, there's like I hear like many of the presidents have like second lives, like another wife and kids and things in like
wow.
different countries and shit like that, and that's fucking more common than not.
Yeah.
And because it's so common that a lot of times candidates are just like, that's off limits. Like you don't touch
yeah,
that. Like
because I do the same thing.
I do the same thing. We know you do the same thing. It's like most our relationships are a shell, anyways. Like,
Well, dude,
don't
this-
fuck with that. I won't fuck with yours. And
Well, bro-
so I've heard that.
Well, the whole conspiracy that there's this elite level of fucking these sexual perverts
Yeah.
and deviants that are into sex trafficking with minors and children, all that stuff. That's been a conspiracy for a while, and the stuff that comes out around that is really fucking disgusting and frightening.
Yeah.
But if that were happening at that level, oh my gosh, could you imagine the destabilization that would cause or whatever? If shit came out and they're like, yeah, here's some people that Jeffrey Epstein, provided with underage sex, whatever.
Yeah.
The Pope, fucking the President of England, whatever, the Prime Minister of England, the President. I mean, it could be.
you just started watching The Family, right?
I watched just the first episode.
Oh yeah, I watched 3 of them. I didn't finish it yet, but
I'm almost done with it. I think
Yeah.
I'm on 7 or something like that right
Yeah.
now. It gets deep, dude.
It is very interesting. Yeah, that series. I'm totally like into it. Like what they've created with that.
Oh yeah, that's I just don't. I don't. Here's the thing. I have a tough time trusting
You can't trust
regular people anyway.
You can't watch those documentaries anymore. That's why I think it's so funny when people become so passionate about a candidate and they're like defending them to the teeth.
Like,
I'm
you
like,
don't know that guy.
I'm like, I would never defend any of them motherfuckers, dude. You
I don't
kidding me?
understand anybody who's like that. Like like just looking at them. Oh, he's a good guy. Yeah, like I like this guy more than I like that guy. What? That's how you're gonna decide?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Well, I've said this time and time again. This is the truth. The people that seek that kind of power are the very people you don't want to have that you don't want to have power.
Yeah.
Like if you desire it that bad, no, you don't get it. I want the reluctant leader. I want the leader that's like, fine, you guys want me to I'll do this shit, but then I'm done after a
Twist my
couple years.
arm to get
Yeah,
up
like
there.
I really don't want to do this. You
Yeah,
know
because
what
the
I'm
money ain't even that good, like, right? Their salary.
power.
It is the power. It just shows you that it's all about the power. 'Cause
totally.
the president's salary is what, 300 something or 500? It's not even, it's like fucking
400 grand.
Yeah, it's fuck what? All these people
Oh,
want,
but you can charge speaking,
but you spend
engagements,
millions
hundreds
of dollars to get yourself in that position? This doesn't make sense.
But they have free rent. They have,
Yeah, free rent.
Yeah, if you add,
That is good.
You factor that in. That's
Pretty
more
cool
money.
house. Yeah.
all
You
about
throw parties.
all about the power.
Well, speaking of governments and weird shit, did you know that the very first this is when I read this, I was like, this is not real. No, it's real. The first human monkey chimeras have been developed in China.
Oh my god, bro, you're taking us to like
what?
Oh,
This is real.
dude.
What?
An international team of researchers has created embryos containing both human and monkey cells.
This is like Alex Jones level podcast right now. Yeah, dude, like
is
he
China.
brought this up like a long time ago, like on Joe Rogan's episode. Dude, yeah, he was talking about the chimeras out there that they've already been working on.
Yeah.
So this is true. This is like been verified.
This is real. This is a
No
cross.
way, dude.
Yes, no, this is a cross breed of human and monkey. Now they don't let it develop into a baby or whatever. They let it build up a bunch
On
of cells.
paper.
That's what they're saying, right?
Yeah.
They let it build up a bunch of cells and then they destroy it. And it's research because they're trying to find ways to grow human organs is what they're trying to do.
Oh, I see.
They want to find ways to grow
Right.
human organs. But I mean, in the meantime, you're developing a fucking...
Can we just mess with our own stem cells first?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
got to cross species.
Yeah,
here.
and now you know why they did it in China? Because the U.S. has laws against that.
Yeah,
So
for
they,
good reason.
So they flew to China because, China is... we may be...
little loose.
we may be immoral, but they're amoral. They have none. So they went over there and they made a human monkey.
Planet of the Apes coming.
Oh my god,
Dude, it's fucking... This is the thing about science. This is the big thing. We humans need
we
to
don't
check.
ask if we should.
just chimp people.
It's always can we.
Yeah.
It's never should we, and it's our own arrogance. God, what are we going to do, man? I swear to God.
know, dude.
These conspiracy
getting
theories,
scary,
they
dude.
write themselves, don't they?
Yeah.
You guys want to have another one?
You're on a roll so far.
Oh, I got a good one.
Okay.
So do you guys know what a tardigrade is?
Oh yeah. Okay, I read this one.
They call them water bears.
Water bears.
Oh,
little
it's
microscopic.
The Mars thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're
Explain this. I'm glad you went this direction.
So tardigrade, they're these little microscopic animals that can survive anywhere, basically, without food or water.
Well,
So you can put them in space, no food, no water. They shut everything down, and their cells basically turn into almost like glass, and they can stay that way for a long time. We've brought tardigrades back to life who've been in that state for 10 years. Wow. So 10 years, no food, no water, just chilling there, and then we'll bring them back to
we
life.
just crashed them on the moon, right?
So Israel sent the satellite over to the moon, a lunar lander, and it had human DNA on it. It had a bunch of different things on it that they were going to test or whatever. Anyway, fucking crashed and basically smeared a bunch of tardigrades all over the surface of the moon.
So back up here, because this is what this is the part that doesn't make sense to me. So they're heading there with a bunch of DNA and these little fucking bear
Well,
things.
I think
and they crack like what?
What's these little bear things?
Yeah. So that doesn't even
Little
make
Teddy Ruxpins
like
out there.
how does this happen? Like you're heading up to space. What are you going there to do? With
no,
all this,
dude.
what are you doing?
They're trying to preserve like human DNA, like a bunch of different things. Like in terms of all the books that they've put on this disc. It's like a quartz disc that has like some kind of I forget what kind of metal covering over it or whatever. So it lasts for like 100-something million years. So it's like our civilization, human DNA, like all this stuff that like if say aliens find it or
so
whatever.
they're trying to make like a lunar library. That's gonna
like
have,
a library, like a human.
It's going to have the whole
codex or
yeah, it's going to
whatever.
have like the whole English Wikipedia on it, human DNA information. It's just whatever.
So they dehydrated these things, and so you can rehydrate them later.
Yeah,
and
but
they're living beings.
Yeah, so fuck, man. So we just basically put life on the moon that
So we're gonna
that can actually survive on the moon on accident.
yeah. Imagine if those things evolve and get like huge.
All right, what if future human civilizations or who knows what happens in the future? But then they go to the moon. They're like, we found life on the moon. How did it get there? I don't know.
Make sure you Google what these things look like.
Look, that
It's
is. He's doing it right now.
Yeah, I know. I'm talking to the people listening.
Oh yeah, they kind of look squishy, don't they? A little bit.
Yeah.
Like you want to squeeze them a little bit.
Yeah, they kind of, those moles that are like hairless. They kind
Yes,
of like that.
with the weird tube faces or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's crazy that we can blow up an image to be this big and this much detail. It's like, how tiny is this thing?
It's a
it's
microscopic animal.
microscopic,
It's not
yeah.
as small as a bacteria. I don't think. I think it's bigger than a bacteria.
Yeah, I wonder if you could see it with the naked eye.
Yeah, no, I don't think you can.
No.
Yeah, so now there's a bunch of water bears on the moon. They're gonna rise up.
I heard they did the same thing with when they launched that Tesla car like out into orbit, and it's on this like path of I don't know, like 10 or 100 million years or something around the sun. But yet they put it in the glove box. Like they put that with the human DNA and all the
What are they doing?
library of all this information.
Why?
I don't know. They're just like shooting wads out there in space, basically.
That's that. Hey, I mean, you've heard panspermia, right? You've heard that theory before.
We're doing that.
So panspermia is the theory that Earth got its life from a meteor.
This is the
hitting
basis
Earth.
of Scientology. too,
Yeah,
I heard.
that Earth was lifeless, right? But it had good conditions, and then meteors hit the Earth, but there was life on these meteors, and so it seeded the Earth, like panspermia. Like it's like Earth got jizzed on.
Yeah, it got
By the universe.
impregnated.
Yeah.
So if you believe that, you have to be freaking out about these bears on the moon then. right?
Bears.
Bears on the moon.
They look like little
Like
bears.
big headlines.
Everybody
Bears on the moon.
Everybody run. Dude, speaking of animals, I watched this video. You guys know what American Ninja Warrior is?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I love that show.
The crazy obstacles and shit.
We had a guy on the show. Remember we interviewed him?
Yeah, that's right.
David Campbell.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know how they did this, but they got a chimp, like a little chimpanzee, and they trained him to go through the obstacle course.
Wow.
Bro,
Was he from China?
Watching a chimp go through the course was so comical because
So effortless.
He's fucking around, dude. He's not even tripping. He's just hanging. He's smiling
Like
at
scratching
everybody.
his armpit.
Fuck yeah, exactly. Scratching his armpit. He made it and he broke everybody like world records.
No way.
Yeah, he's a fucking
That's
chimp,
hilarious.
dude.
That is
so cool. It was so cool to see that.
That is cool.
It just
Anyway.
makes us look silly.
Anyway, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, so I was talking to Jessica this weekend. Now that we've had the chili pad, the Uller, for a few weeks, and we're just talking about how deep we've been sleeping. And she's like, both of us are just dreaming
So
hard.
what's her temperature? Are you guys on different channels there? Or is it similar?
I go 63 on mine, 67 on hers. So she's a little bit warmer than mine is. And then the part where it warms up to wake you up, pair that with that alarm clock. Oh, fucking amazing.
Oh, it's been saving me, dude. The last few nights, because I mean we don't have AC or anything in my house, and some of it like our house has just trapped all this heat. And to have that, like normally I'd just sweat, and then like my back would just be like sweat, wake me up a couple times in the middle of the night. This has been saving me from that, even with the fans going.
Oh, it's completely saved me right now because so last week, it almost seemed like Maximus had caught a cold or something, but he'd been really congested. And, one of the suggestions is the steam and then keeping the house hotter, which is tough for me because you guys know how cold I like my house. So I keep it like Arctic in there. And on top of that, I have the chili pad. That's how cold I like it in my place. But with him, I notice a big difference when I keep the temperature like above 72, which is like, to me, I never let my house go over 69, 70. Like that's like me turning off the AC is me turning it to 70. Yeah. So letting it get up to like 72, 73 is where he is really comfortable at and he can breathe better. So we've been keeping the house at like 72, 73. And I make sure I go turn on the Uller like fucking 4 or 5 hours before I'm going to go to bed and all the way to the lowest setting. So it's like an ice box when I get up. I'm like, oh, and it helps me fall right to sleep. I could never ever sleep with my house in the 70s before. I'd be sweating, tossing, turning all night.
Well, I'm a big, and I know you guys are gonna laugh, but I like to like hug while I sleep. I know I'm that guy, right?
Wow.
Yeah, but it can get
Do you
hot.
start like that, and like, I mean, how long? Like
big
all night.
All night.
Yeah, Jessica and I are
Wow.
all night. We're like, she's like my little teddy bear.
Little burritos.
Yeah, we like it. We both. It works out great because I'm gonna. If you're not that kind of a person, if you're not super touchy feely, I will 100% annoy the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Because I am, and I don't stop. That's the problem. You could tell me I'm annoying. I'm gonna keep doing it anyway. She likes it, so we're both like. But then you get the Uller cools everything down, so we don't become a sweaty mess. In the evening. But
Sweaty centipede.
people ask me this question, so I want to answer it on the podcast. There's no EMFs in the pad. There's no electricity in the pad. It's not wires. It's water.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about sleeping on something that's producing a bunch of EMF or whatever.
No, we wouldn't have fucked with it if that was the case.
Yeah.
No.
Why are they dying over there?
No reason. Just keep going. I got Doug.
Doug and Just have an inside joke over there.
A little bit.
I don't know.
Is this something that Sal does or what?
No.
Oh, something I do?
No, you guys will hear it later. It's fine.
All
You
right.
got to go back and listen to the episode.
Yeah.
Okay. Fucking guy. Anyway, dude, how was the Niner game with your kids? I saw you
Oh
go.
my God, dude, we had the best time, and I've been a handful of times.
Who was it that hooked us up with that?
Momentous, which
Oh.
big shout out to them for hooking us up with tickets. I'm so glad you guys couldn't go.
Well, first of all, it's not that I couldn't go. I remember you guys want to watch football?
You wouldn't have
No.
appreciated it, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I saw. I thought that was cool. That you
Were they
did.
good seats or what?
Yeah, they're
He was,
great.
on the,
seat.
he was on the field.
Yeah, well, we went on the field for they gave us passes to go down there and like see the players before the game practicing and everything. And so we actually got to bring the kids like right on the field. And then they had a photographer take us like right next to where they were practicing, and like we got this really cool shot that was all professional, and then they framed it for us and handed it to us later. And there's this suite. It was up in like the Black Oak Casino suite, I believe, but had the whole thing decked out, all the food, everything we could have hoped for. It was awesome. Yeah.
So that sounds like a good time.
Yeah, and they played. I mean, it was a good game to watch too because I mean, there was some hits being thrown out there in that game. That's what excites me about football the most is watching like
The
people
violence.
cracking each other. Yeah, dude. Because one of our guys got thrown out for some personal foul, and it was total bullshit. And then after that, like the whole team got fired up and started just cracking heads, dude. I got excited.
What was it? Did they win?
Yeah, they won.
What was the score?
Yeah, I think it was 17-9 or something like that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What a cool experience for your boys.
I
though.
love seeing pictures.
That was the best
I love
part.
seeing that.
Yeah, I mean,
The
to
best
be able
part.
to take your boys down to a professional football team's freaking field, I mean, that's just cool.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
and they
there's-
saw these monsters that they watch on TV,
Yeah.
up close. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, that's
that's so good. I love it. I love seeing stuff when you do stuff with your boys and your family. It's so nice. I got
Yeah,
to
it was a
visit.
good time.
I got to visit Adam over the weekend too. Got to see him and Katrina in their element with the baby. That was really nice. Yeah,
And Jessica got her fix. That was
yeah.
great,
She finally got to see the
Some
baby.
Maximus time.
Dude, this guy gave a gift that I was super rad. I didn't even know this was a thing. So Sal surprised Maximus with his first stock. So
Nice,
yeah, he
dude.
bought him Disney stock.
There's this company
he
that you
gifted it
can-
to him. He gifted it to him. I thought that
That's
was
super cool, man.
Well, when you buy an infant something or a kid, I always think to myself, I'm trying to think like when I was a kid, I remember I got bonds as a gift a couple times, and I thought it was so cool because they mature 10 years later and you make a little money, but bonds don't make you shit.
Yeah.
You give someone a $100 bond, it's worth $115. 20 years later. So so I was trying to figure out what I could do, and I'm like, how can you gift an investment? And you can do 529 plans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they had opened one yet or whatever. You could actually buy stock, gift cards for stock. I don't remember the name of the company, but I bought some Disney stock because I figured it would be appropriate. And Adam's a big fan of Disney or whatever. And I'm like, this will be cool. Maybe when he's 18, it'll be worth. Maybe it won't be worth shit, but maybe it'll be worth money too. That might be cool.
No, I thought it was a freaking rad gift, and I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
I thought it was so cool. I told him right before he had done that Katrina and I, we just had this big old long talk about this because the holidays are coming, and I know her family and my family are going to go crazy with my son, and I don't want them to. I don't want them to
Just get
buy
so many toys.
I don't. Yeah, he's going to get plenty of toys. Like if a quarter of the family buys some toys, he's going to have more than enough toys than he needs, and then including ourselves. So what I would really love, instead of just burning money like that, is like, man, put it towards an investment that he can later on in his life when he really needs it, he can use it. So I told her I want to start an account that's specifically for that and encourage family like to just donate to that. Donate to his education in the next 18 years versus just buying
we did something like that with savings, but that's even better having like stock. So it came in a card.
It's
and
a
then
gift card.
and you basically just run the numbers and then
You
pass it along.
You put a dollar amount on it, and then he just goes and activates it.
Wow, that is cool,
And then
man.
they have the stock or whatever. No, it's really it was cool seeing them with the baby though. It's just so natural and so comfortable. It was a great
Did
environment.
he cry immediately when Sal started talking?
No, he didn't actually.
Yeah, he did good this time.
You know
good.
why?
Oh, good.
I purposely
You're warming up on it.
I said my voice is loud. I'm fucking talk loud. So I purposely brought my voice, and I'm just not aware of it half the time.
Yeah, a couple times Jessica would be checking him because Jessica was holding him and he'd be sleeping on Jessica, and then Sal and I were talking.
I get excited.
and she'd be like, shh. Kind of doing that.
I told you guys,
shushing him all the time.
I told you guys when I was a kid, my mom had my hearing checked. I don't know how many times because she thought I had bad hearing because I yelled all the time.
You don't talk that loud. It's funny,
I feel
though.
like it's
You're
not that
used to it now.
Yeah, maybe that's
Oh,
what it is.
maybe,
I've just
maybe.
adjusted to you. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
I think we brought our levels up.
I
as a
feel like
result.
I'm a loud talker too, so
Yeah.
like, you must be really loud.
You are loud, but I don't think your voice is as piercing as mine.
I think it's more that. I think you just have like a different sounding voice.
different frequency.
Yeah, that's what that throws it off, and I think it throws because what I am noticing about Maximus right now is that we've kept him around lots of loud sounds, so it's awesome. We could have TV blaring, people coming into the house, dogs barking, and he'll just be sleeping, right? But if a sound that he hasn't heard yet goes off, he will wake up, or it will startle him.
Because it's not familiar, maybe.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting to see that it's not so if it's loud or not, it's like it's familiar or not is what will keep
I love
him.
the way the dogs responded. Like there were a couple times when your boy cried a little bit, and the dogs immediately perk up and they walk over and see what's wrong.
Yeah.
It was so interesting to see that. Like they really care. They wanted to check on him.
Yeah.
He's a member of the pack.
Well,
Yeah.
especially seeing them in somebody else's hand because normally they'll come over and they'll sit next to me, but you could tell they were, pawing at you a little bit, looking up and like wondering, okay, who's this holding
Protective.
Yeah, it was cool.
I mean, so cool, right?
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
No,
That's why dogs are amazing.
They've been great, man. I was really nervous just about how they were going to be. I thought, they, for 8 years now, Bentley's 8 and Mozzie's 6, they've been our kids and we spoil the shit out of them, take them everywhere, and they're very needy dogs, more needy than any other dog or pet I've ever had. And to the point where they'll fight over, who gets attention and shit. So I thought, man, when this kid comes, they're going to be fucking a handful, to the point where I was hiring somebody to take them off for 2 hours a day and just go play with them, spend time. But they were totally the opposite. They actually, I've seen since Maximus has came there, they're calmer than they've ever been. Like you said, they have this concern when he cries. It doesn't get them all frantic. It actually just gets them concerned. They kind of come over and they sit. They're very docile around him. I can lay them on the ground and they're gentle with them. It's crazy.
That's so great.
Yeah, it's been
That's
awesome.
why dogs are amazing, man.
Yeah.
Oh, so you know how a few episodes ago we were talking about, I don't know how the topic came up. We were talking about fast food. And I was saying how, in my memory, McDonald's French fries are the best in the ever. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't had anything McDonald's probably for 10 years. Well, so I was thinking about that episode this weekend. So I actually went through the drive-thru at McDonald's and got yes, I did.
You got sucked in.
And I just got a small French fries because I'm like, you know what?
Did you really?
I did because
That's so great.
Yeah, like was it like
Are they as good as my
it's
memory
like $1?
tells me?
Yeah, it was like $2 or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, yes, that's exactly what it is because oftentimes you'll have a memory of something and the memory's better than the actual thing itself.
Totally.
So I'm like, let me test this out. I'm eating healthy anyway and it's a small fry. I want to see if it actually tastes as good as I remember it because I hadn't had them for like 10 years. Guess what?
Yeah.
It's just as good as I remember it.
Okay.
They engineer the fuck out of those things. Oh my God. What do they do? What do they do?
I don't know. It's a patented process.
It's the most, dude. I was eating it, and I found myself eating it faster and faster as I was eating it. And I was like, "This is the most hyper palatable thing."
Well,
I've
it
ever
used
had
to be
in my
something
face.
to do with the way they salted them and actually the fat that they fried them in, right?
Well, it used to be made in beef tallow,
Right. I think that's
but
what
then they changed it, and so now it's some weird chemical conconcoction. I have no idea.
Yeah, because vegans are really like, jonesing for McDonald's.
Yeah, but it was. Look at that. See, they have a whole science article on it. He brought up, Doug. It's the most palatable thing I've ever had. I could totally see myself eating so many of them that I make myself sick. It's crazy.
That is crazy. I got something crazy for you. So I got something crazy. I was reading this article on prices at like Best Buy and Target and how consumers can know like how good of it is. There's like this unwritten code amongst retailers on how they end, and there's a mathematical reason behind this. But if the price ends in 99, 92, 96, it signals something different about the product. And as a consumer, you can actually like figure this out. So for example, if the price ends in 92 cents, it's a one-time price drop, often below wholesale. Incredible deal. If it's 96 cents, adjusted price to beat the competitor, it's a good deal. If it's 99, full price or marginal markdown, bad deal.
What? Where'd you read this?
Yeah, it was in it was either Hustle or Morning Brew.
So this is
92 is the ideal.
Yeah. So it's just a thing that they do in the retailer. So if you're at Best Buy, you're at Target, and you see
Now, what if the difference between it's expensive, good deal, and it's really cheap is literally that? The 5 cents or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
99, 96,
it could be.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be that, right? But I mean, I thought that was interesting that you could look at the end of the price and see that and see if it's a
dude. This is what I do. If I really feel like being a cheap ass when I go to the store, I'll go to a store, like something, immediately go on my phone, find it on
check
Amazon,
it,
and I'll just start comparing. Be like, nope, got it on Amazon cheaper.
There's an app for that, right?
Where
At
you
one
can
point,
scan it.
You scan it.
You see Amazon's doing the influencer thing now?
Oh yeah, explain that. I saw that for a second.
They emailed me yesterday. So it's like basically just they're targeting influencers. I'm sure they saw the social media following or something and then emailed me directly as I qualify as somebody who can do this. But I can set up my own basic landing page as all of my favorite things that I buy from Amazon, and then anybody that goes through that and buys, I'm getting a kickback. Yeah. And they have it's tiered, so
you have to get an invite or something.
Yeah, you have to. Well, you can apply. So if somebody who's hearing this right now and is curious,
That's smart.
Yeah, and then you apply. No, it's brilliant.
That's very smart.
Especially Amazon. I know we have that also with like things like.
It makes it easy to monetize your following. If you're somebody who you don't want to create a product, you don't know what to do, you've got 50,000 followers or whatever, and you want to say, hey, I want to see if I can monetize this.
Yeah.
Why not do something like that?
They have way more products than skinny tea.
Yeah. Yes. And that's the other
That's
thing.
good.
It's exactly true.
Yeah.
You can literally promote a trillion different. Things.
I like it. I like it because hopefully, man, maybe we'll see this kind of transition with influencers right now because it is getting almost disgusting how many people that are just they'll take on these fit teas or supplement companies or whatever just comes their way because it's honestly the only people that are reaching out to them and asking them to advertise for them. But maybe if I could just talk about the things I already buy and like via Amazon, then I have some integrity. I could feel like, oh, cool, I'm promoting all the shit that I would buy anyways. It's on my list.
Do you know what the commission is?
I do. I have it written down somewhere.
Was it good or no?
Yeah, it's not that appealing to us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We have a product, we have something ourselves that we've
So
created.
it's like if somebody has a following, they want to make an extra $500 a month.
Yeah, maybe I would do something like that if we didn't have Mind Pump and we didn't sell programs, we didn't do anything like that, and I was trying to monetize it and I didn't want to do. Here's the thing: if that would have came around before Mind Pump came on, because before even Mind Pump started, I was already started getting people reaching out to me when I was competing, and my Instagram was like at 10 or 20,000 followers or whatever it was around there, and it was mostly supplement companies, which I just like we've always talked about. I have no interest in promoting their bullshit or T-shirt companies, right? So I turned down all of that stuff. Now, if this existed then, like I might have jumped on that. Like I have no problem sharing with my people. Ask me all that stuff anyways. Like, oh, Adam, where do you buy this, or what do you like this, or what's your favorite that? It's like, well, fuck, if I can just drive everybody to a landing page on Amazon and with the direct hyperlinks to, I'm already using this. I do like it. And I'm making, but the kickback isn't a lot. But if the volume is there, if you got, and it's a cool product.
It's an easy way to monetize. You're not going to make a ton of money, but, if you want to make another $500 a month, $1,000
yeah, I
month,
see
it's a smart move on their part.
Yes,
sure.
I see it brilliant on Amazon.
Yeah, it's not for the people that are doing it.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get rich off of doing that. I don't see, even if you had a massive following, the amount of traffic you'd have to be driving to Amazon. Amazon's going to love you. That means they're making a fuck ton of money if you're making any money at all.
No, that company, man. They're consistently just brilliant, and I think that's a brilliant move.
No,
because you got a lot of people are going to jump on that.
Oh, it's very smart.
This Quaz brought to you by Organifi. For those days you fall short on getting your organic veggies or whole food nutrition, Organifi fills the gap with laboratory-tested certified organic superfoods to help give your health and performance the added edge. Try Organifi totally risk-free for 60 days by going to Organifi.com. That's ORGANIFI.com. And use the coupon code MINDPUMP for 20% off at checkout. First question is from Mitch Lipson. Is it ever appropriate to train certain body parts for strength while training other body parts with higher reps and lower weight, or should your whole body be on the same style of training?
You can actually do both. So whenever you're training your body, obviously we've talked about this on the show many times, you're sending a signal to your body to adapt and become better at what the signal is saying to do. Now there is a localized adaptation effect that happens, and then there's a generalized or general effect that happens in the body. So what does that mean? That means if I train my legs to be strong but not have a lot of endurance, so be good in the low rep ranges, I'm going to get a lot of that adaptation in my legs, but I'm going to get some adaptation for the rest of my body. If I train my lower body different than my upper body, I'll get a little bit less of both, but I'll still get a lot of both. So you can do this. Now, if you want to maximize one particular thing, like if you just want to be strong or you just want to have a lot of endurance, you're probably better off focusing your entire body in that direction. But you can definitely train one or the other. They've done studies on this where they'll have someone with the right arm train low reps, heavy weight, and left arm train high reps. And what they find is the arm that trains with the high reps gets more endurance, the one with the low reps gets more strength. But if you train them both with low reps, both would get more strength. Or if you train both with high reps, both would get more endurance than if you had just done one or the other.
Right. Do you guys ever do this yourself, or do you? What?
No,
you
it sounds confusing to me.
No, it's just
what
like
are we doing here?
it's like what you would do in a workout, which to me this actually happens all the time, and it's not like a planned thing. It's just that sometimes there's exercises that today I'm really want to train like heavy, like, and this tends to look like this, like squatting and deadlifting, right? I'm doing squats or deadlifts, and I feel like running singles, doubles, triples, or even like 5x5 type of a format. But then yet my arms are due for hypertrophy training. And so in that workout, I'm squatting 5 reps, but then when I get over to tricep push downs and bicep curls, I'm doing 15 reps.
Yeah.
So-
Okay. Yeah, I could see doing that with arms. I've been guilty of that, doing
Yeah.
gross, motor movements, and then like finishing up with some, I got to get my arms involved and get some hypertrophy. Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's some body parts and exercises also just lend themselves better to different styles of training.
Yes, that's why I think that's a good point right there. There's
1 to 2 reps or 3 reps or even 5 reps for arms. It doesn't lend itself super well.
right.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like when I'm running singles, doubles, or triples, and even 5x5s for squatting and deadlifting, I don't always mirror that with my arms. Like it just to me, it's not as important for me to train. And that's not to say that I don't ever train really heavy bicep curls or skull crushers. Sure, it's just less frequent that I do that, because of the point that Sal's making is they lend themselves better to 8 reps, 12 reps, 15 reps, supersetting type of training, and doing 5 skull crushers is just not as valuable. Now, is it valuable every once in a while? Sure, maybe every once in a while. But if I'm lifting like that, that's normally when I'm doing things like close grip bench press. I might do 5x5 with that.
Right.
Like that's an upper body compound lift, right?
And you'll
I
even
can see
notice
that with core too. Like I would train my abs and train my obliques and everything else in rotational stuff, doing a little bit more of a higher reps sequence to that, just because it lends itself better to that. But there is also value again with dropping the amount of reps in that direction as well. I wouldn't be more inclined to do that though. I'd be more inclined to do higher reps with arms or core for sure.
Even in our programs, like if you look at MAPS Anabolic, phase 1 is the classic low rep phase where you're focusing on kind of low rep, that grinding type of strength. But even there, when you look at the rep recommendations for like deadlifts, they're different than the rep recommendations for curls and for press downs. Although they're considered low reps, you're typically doing more reps for body parts and areas that low reps don't really do well with. And then vice versa. Deadlifts, for example. Can you do high rep deadlifts? You can. Do they lend themselves well to high reps? No, they don't. The risk of injury with doing sets of 15 or 20 reps on the deadlift, it's just really, really high. The fatigue starts to set in. Once your form starts to break down, you tend to injure yourself. Do high rep, snatches and cleans. Is that a good idea? Probably not. This is why I don't like, sometimes the way CrossFit programs, snatches and cleans and these kind of high rep for time, fatigue based type stuff.
Like ladders.
Yeah, they're exercises that once your form breaks down a little bit, you're looking at a high risk of injury. They tend to do better, low reps, not maximal effort. You do 3-4 reps, stop, wait a little bit, rest a minute or whatever and do it again. So you can definitely train this way. Now, I like to generally, though, keep clients in a general phase. I don't like to mix things up too much. And the reason is because I want to see how the body's responding to this particular rep range or this phase. I want to know what I'm doing and how it's working and how it's affecting the body. When I throw everything in the kitchen sink at the body, it's hard for me to decipher what's working where and how it's working. So when I phase people, it's typically, generally speaking, we're going to be in a phase of heavy training, or we're going to be in a phase of higher rep training, or we're going to be in a mobility phase, rather than mixing everything up so that today is low reps on this and higher reps here.
Well, it's for teaching purposes. It's just like, and this is where I like using my sport analogies, where you're training any sport. I like using basketball because I feel like there's so many different moves on the court, and learning a skill, like a crossover, is a very valuable thing and can be thrown into the game, in the game, and make sense. But you want to practice that by itself, get really good at it, and then you learn to integrate it into the flow of the game. And so goes a sort of a dunk or some sort of a spin move. Like all these moves that you learn to do, Like you isolate it first, you want to practice it, you want to get good at it, you want to see the results that it gives you, and then you integrate it into the big picture of the game, right? So I think the same way with when we're learning like ways of training like this, like absolutely you can have half of your exercises high rep, the other low rep, but there's value to phasing it first so you can see how your body responds to it, what lends itself well. And then once you get the hang of that and you understand that, now let's take some principles that I've learned from all this and learn how to integrate it into everyday life.
Next question is from Ty Domingo. What is your opinion on Weight Watchers?
You know, when clients would go on Weight Watchers and come back and explain to me kind of the breakdown, the point system and whatnot, to me it seems like a more simplified and easier to follow version than counting macros and calories. I think they've done a very good job with that.
No, it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
it's absolutely, and what it highlights in its simplicity is that this just shows you that a majority of people over consume, under report, and they have simplified that process better than anybody. It's the reason why they're one of the best at it. They were one of the best at taking something that it seems to be really complex for the average person and simplifying the shit out of it that makes it so easy that all people have to do is know, if it falls in this category, it's 3 points. If it falls in this category, it's 2 points. It's this one. Yeah. I can have a total of 27 points a day. And so as long as I stay at my number or lower, I'm going to lose weight.
They've nailed their demographic.
They have.
In terms of like people who have been eating just processed food and shit forever, and to get them to be able to then transition into a better, healthier way to kind of at least start to address, their food intake. That's like, it's a great bridge to get them, on a better path. But from there, that's where I start to have issues.
Oh, I have a lot of issues with it. I think it's fucking terrible. Yeah. But I think it's brilliant at the same time. So there's difference when I say brilliant, I think of the business side.
Yeah.
Brilliant from the way they've created it, the way they've structured it. They've hit the masses.
For a consumer, they've made it super easy.
Right. Now, for the client, here's the problem with it, is when all you're looking at, it's like it's an even worse version of IIFYM. That's what it is.
Yeah, what can I fit in my points?
Right. At least IIFYM makes you count proteins, fats, and carbs. Like they don't even, and fiber, like they tell you to pay attention to, but they don't even tell you to pay attention to that.
Well, they're starting to emphasize on you want to eat these, you want to eat that. But you're right, they simplify it so much that what people end up doing is let me tell you, I don't care what they're presenting and saying, just like IFYM. Okay, this is what happened, just like the same thing. I don't care what they're presenting. I care about what the majority and how they use it, which I have the experience in. Right. I've had the clients that follow IFYM. I've had the clients that follow Weight Watchers, and what a majority of them do is they know their point system. They know what they can be at, 27, whatever the number is, and as long as they're under that, they're good. And so what ends up happening is they find these treats and things they love that are high on the points, but they can find a way to fit it in there. And Weight Watchers makes a lot of them.
Yeah.
They make a lot of these treats this is only 3 points. You can eat this, and we made this bar. That's whatever. No, I get it. And here's the thing. I think it's a good stepping stone. I really do. I think it's a good stepping stone because it simplifies understanding caloric intake and energy expenditure. So teaching a client to count macros and calories, it can be more difficult. You have to count 3 macros, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, right? With points, it's general, it's easy, very easy to follow. But don't get stuck there. If you get stuck there, you're going to have to, just like having to count calories your entire life, you have to count points for the rest of your life. How is that a long-term approach? It's not. At some point, you want to get to the place where you go about your day and you just eat. And you make good choices because you want to make good choices. Now, it sounds easy, but it's not. It's hard to get there. There are stepping stones to get there. But if you get stuck in this Weight Watchers point system or counting macros, that is not a good place to be. It's not a long-term approach. It's actually quite stressful to stay there all the time, where you're always adding things up, you're always counting, you're always watching what you eat from that type of a perspective. It's not very good. It's funny. I do these sales trainings and presentations for trainers, and I talk about the 4 stages of learning. And in order to communicate it well to the trainers, I talk about nutrition, because when you're talking about sales to trainers, oftentimes they don't want to hear it. But if you talk about nutrition or training, they're all open. They want to hear what you have to say. And when you're teaching a client about nutrition, you have to take them through the 4 steps or the 4 stages of learning. The first stage is where most people are, which is unconscious incompetence. They just don't know that they don't know. And this is where a lot of us were when we first started looking at our nutrition. We just didn't know what we didn't know. Then once you start to dive in a little bit, you realize, oh my gosh, there's a lot of things I don't know. I don't know much about protein and what has protein in it. I don't know much about carbohydrates and what has carbohydrates or fats or micronutrients or any of that. So then you move to the second stage, which is unconscious competence. Conscious incompetence. You're aware that you don't know things. You're just now you're there like, okay, I don't know things. I know I don't know things. I need something to teach me how to move on. Then you get to stage 3, which is conscious competence, which is Weight Watchers. Now, conscious competence is consciously being aware of the things that you're trying to do. But if you get stuck there, that's a terrible place to live because you never get to the 4th stage, which is unconscious competence. So when we think about things that we do unconsciously that we're competent at, breathing, walking, talking, those are all things that we're competent at doing, but we don't have to sit there and like figure out, like, imagine if you had to think about walking every time you walked. It would be very robotic and very difficult. Or if you had to think about breathing every time you took a breath. Well, if you have to think about your nutrition every single time you take a bite, where I need to figure out the calories, the macros, the points, whatever, that's a very stressful place to be. You'll never get to the 4th stage. So I like Weight Watchers as a stepping stone, but it's not a destination. Like if you get stuck there, you're going to be, it's not long term. And I'm pretty sure the statistics will show it helps people lose weight, but how many people stay there long term and forever? I think it's not that good.
Next question is from Honestly Haley. How would you apply your MAPS programs to children or teens?
It's been a while since we've talked about this, like which programs that we have that it would lend themselves best to teens. Because
Starter.
Right.
Starter,
I love Starter.
Prime, or even Anywhere.
I just say Anywhere too.
So yeah, Starter and Anywhere would be the best. Starter in particular because Starter has dumbbells in it, and physio ball. It teaches them basic resistance training exercises and techniques. I think it would be the most appropriate for children or for teens. It doesn't require a lot of equipment. I think you just need a physio ball and dumbbells, right, and body.
No, but these days too, with postural issues and just day-to-day things where kids now are just on their phones and they're on their iPads and like sitting a lot more, not doing any kind of free play outside. This is where I want to check that with Prime and see how what I'm working with and mechanically and how I can then take that and build something upon it.
Now that being said, technically the kids can go through everything, right?
They can. As long as they can do it.
Totally.
Right. So I think Starter and Anywhere are great places to start them at and see. And the thing that you're watching for if you're a parent and you're taking your kids through is their mechanics, right? Like you if your kid is all over the place, which is more common than not. So I think that's the important thing to understand here is that at that age, they're still learning proprioception, like the understanding how to control their body in space is.
Yeah, you ever have a kid do an overhead dumbbell press?
Yeah,
you got to stand there so they don't drop it on their own head.
Yeah,
even if it's light.
Right, they're all exactly. It's not a strength thing. It's them understanding how to move in space. Like they're still learning that.
It reminds me of like when you first get a dog, and dogs grow real fast.
Yeah, and they're clumsy.
Yeah, so like a year-old dog is like pretty damn big, but they're big old clumsy puppies. That's what it's like with kids and teenagers. They're just not aware of their bodies, and you hand them weights, tell them to do a bench press, even if they can handle the weight. It's like the bar wants to fly all over.
Right.
So that's why I wait on the weights and until they do get that body awareness and they've really established that they know where they are in space. They know like how to grip hard. They know how to tighten certain areas of their body. That's all super important.
And now some kids get this. And to me, like, I don't know, I guess the trainer in me, it's really obvious when I see this. And I can even see, I see this in kids' sports.
Sure.
I can see a kid who's playing, a 10-year-old kid who's playing in sports. And I could tell you if I could take that kid and I could take him in the gym and train him like a real athlete, just by the way he moves on the soccer field or on the basketball field. You can just tell by the way their awareness, their awareness in space is very controlled and it has intent. Every move they get left, right, versus the kid who's kind of like Sal saying, kind of moving like the puppy, stumbling its way. That kid is going to reflect the same way inside the gym. He's still learning how to move in space correctly. That kid, I'm for sure spending a lot of time in Starter and Anywhere to get that foundation laid. But if you got a kid who is just like, you could show them a move and it's like precise and the way they move looks more like an adult athlete or like a young adult athlete, man, that kid could probably pick things up in the gym really quick and could be running through anabolic, performance, and a lot of the programs, and could be lifting weights normal. You see these, but they're rare.
You do. So I used to enjoy it. It was my second favorite demographic, was training kids and teens. The biggest issue was really was if a kid shows interest in something, you don't need to push them to do anything, and it's easy. Mm-hmm. It's when the kids don't show any interest, which is most of the time. Like, it's quite rare for a kid or a teen or a young teen to be like, I want to lift weights. Like, I want to work out in the gym. For the vast majority, I don't think it's totally boring. Now, there was one. I remember one kid, when I had my studio, it was next to this coffee shop that sold breakfast and made breakfast, all that stuff. And the owner's kid was this little guy. He liked to skateboard, but he would always, when I would do my workout at noon, because I used to work out at noon over there, he'd always stop and stare through the window. And he was like, I don't know, 10 years old, and he'd watch and just watch. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I bet this kid is like into, like, because he was kind of a small kid. I'm like, I bet he thinks about trying to build muscle and get stronger. So one day I went out there. I'm like, you want to come inside and watch? And he's like, yeah. And he was the son of the owner of next door. He was super into it. Now, this kid started working out all on his own. He was super into it or whatever. That's super rare. Most kids, they come in, they don't want to work out. So one of the biggest keys to getting these kids to work out is to kind of make it short and enjoyable. Yeah. You want to create, basically what I was trying to do, more than trying to get this kid to become super strong or super athletic, my goal was to develop a good relationship with the gym. Like, if I could get this kid to enjoy showing up, to come work out with me and have a good relationship with it, the odds that they'll choose to exercise as adults is much higher. Just like anything when you're a kid. Like, if you have a good experience doing anything as a kid, when you become an adult, this is why I like a lot of friends that I have, for example. I have friends that grew up in religious households where they prayed before dinner, but they had a good relationship. And then as they grew up, they stopped doing it. But then they had kids and they had a good relationship with it. And so they started doing it again themselves. And I'm thinking, when I'm training these kids, my goal is to create a really good relationship with exercise. They enjoy it in here. We have a lot of fun. We do exercises that are challenging, but I'm making it enjoyable. Then the odds of them doing it long term are, rather than what I think a lot of people do, and you see this especially with dads, is they'll get their sons or daughters and they'll like make them work out and do it and and then forget it. That kid's not going to want to work out when they're on their own.
I go back and forth with it because I personally don't. I don't like giving kids a lot of structure in terms of, like, a whole workout plan and protocol where they have to do, these certain exercises. Like, I pretty much, when I used to train kids too, it was based off of like what was interesting for that day. And then we would go through and I'd teach them certain things they wanted to learn. And even if, it was all about like trying to convey like the best mechanics in those movements, but also trying to find what really like drove them, and whether it was climbing, whether it was like pulling something, pushing something, trying to find those opportunities to, reinforce, like you're saying, like a good relationship with those exercises, but also just exposing them to more options. Like, there's all kinds of different movements out there. There's all kinds of different sports, different ways you can remain active. And that's really what is the most necessary, for those crucial stages, all the way through, childhood into teens. And then we start specializing, we start honing in on those things and really, train with more of a laser focus.
Yeah. And there's a lot of myths around training kids too. Like, there's a myth that it just won't die. It needs to die, that lifting weights will stunt a child's growth. Right. And this was based off of that, children have growth plates in between their bones, and if you damage the growth plate, the bone won't grow anymore. The amount of weight and force that would be that's required to damage these growth plates is far higher than the strength that the child will possess.
Yeah. You don't need to be doing PRs with your 10-year-old.
Even if they did, they wouldn't be strong enough to lift something that would damage them enough to cause a stunt in growth. So no, your kid's not going to stunt their growth. They're not going to become tighter. They're not going to do anything. If they train properly, all benefits. That's all they're going to see is benefits. There's no negatives at all if everything's done appropriately.
Next question is from the Maple Leaf Man. How did each of you meet your partners, and how has your impression of them changed from when you met them to now?
How did we meet our partners?
Ooh.
They're talking about business partners or personal?
No, I think personal.
I know. I'm just kidding.
We've told our stories how we've met a million times.
Yeah.
Katrina and I have kind of a funny story on how we met. She was actually dating or seeing one of my trainers. So that's the very first time I even met her or knew who she was.
Damn, did you steal her from the trainer?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No, it wasn't until way late. It was
fired him real quick?
Yeah, it was like over a year when her, because at that time I had a girlfriend and I saw her like maybe 2 times come in, and this was actually a good trainer friend of mine, and said nothing but incredible things about her. He was also he ended up marrying the other girl that he was talking to back and forth, and so it worked out the way it was supposed to for him. But I remember him always really, really speaking highly of her. Now, he would recommended her to me business first. So I had a girlfriend at that time. He wasn't dating her anymore, but I'd met her before, and he said she has a massage business and a massage school, and if she can't help you, then she'll know who can help you. And at that time, I was running the medical marijuana clubs, and we were looking for a service where a massage clinic person would come in and do like a chair massage for my people waiting in the lobby. But we were getting so much traffic that I always had like 10 people waiting in the lobby to come in. And so we were trying to think of ways to
make it more enjoyable.
Yeah, make it
That's
enjoyable.
smart.
Yeah. So, and this is actually how I got into vending machines. I also had like soda machines that were in there so they could drink sodas and they can get massages. And that was just kind of like another way that I was monetizing. So I reach out to her. We meet and we start business together. So basically, I had contracted her out for the 2 facilities that I was running, and they would come in every Friday and they would do chair massages all day long for our clients. So it was great. It was great for our business. It was a great relationship with her and I. That's how we met. And she was in a relationship at that time. I was in a relationship. So it was completely business. And
now, were there any sparks and your attraction?
Not
or
really.
Just purely business.
Yeah, not really, to be honest. And this is what's so unique about Katrina is I fell in love with her reverse of how I've fallen in love or dated in the past, which a lot of times many of the relationships have been very superficial. I see someone who's gorgeous, beautiful, then I talk to them and then I end up liking who they are, and then it works out. She was the opposite. Like, I wasn't looking for anybody. I wasn't looking at her in that way. Business, we were meeting, and I'm like, man, I really like this girl, like just as a person. And so we became really close. I'd share actually a lot of stuff going on in my relationship at the time, and she would share stuff was going on in her relationship, and we had this really cool platonic relationship. I shared a lot about what I was reading at that time, so I know she was kind of scaling her business. I was scaling the business that I was doing.
Now, did she like you? Now that you obviously guys are together, did she ever tell you that she liked you back then too?
No, in fact, she used to talk about. So I guess all the massage girls would fight over who would get to massage. So part of the deal that I worked out
that you got a massage.
That I got massages every week, right? So
of course.
So part of the deal was that, and there's quite a few massage therapists that work there, and she later on is telling me this, that, oh yeah, the girls used to I'm going to massage him. No, let me massage. They would fight over who gets to massage me type of deal. And she would always be like, I can't believe you guys are into him. He's like, she would talk shit. Like,
oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, she would talk shit, right? So she wasn't even, so that's what she claims, right? So she claims that and then she never massaged me. So she was always the boss, right? So she was never massaging me. It was always the people that worked for her. But that was like what was said from her. So she really wasn't looking that way at all. And it just kind of all played out where I ended up, our relationship ended, the one that I was in, after 2 years. And she was coming out of a relationship at the same time. And I invited her out to something. And she hates that I tell this fucking story, but
I love the story.
It really does for me. It was one of the most impressionable times ever, as far as a woman making an impression on me, like first time going out or hanging out. And we had just hit a milestone in the business, and Mark and I were going to take the limo out, and we're going to take the limo to San Francisco. We had got bottle service already lined up. And I think we've rented 2 tables up there, or reserved 2 tables. And so and this limo is a 20-person limo. So we're like, okay, we're going to load the limo up and we're going to head up here and have a good time. And of course, the goal of Mark and I is to load the limo up with mostly girls and then myself and him, right? And so we do that. And I go, you know what? Like,
good odds.
I'm going to invite Katrina. But I really liked her, and I had a lot of respect for her. And when I invited her, I wanted her to know that I also invited 2 other girls that I knew liked me and liked me a lot and were coming after me. And I hadn't done anything with either one of them, but I knew that they for sure would.
So you set yourself up like The Bachelor.
Totally. Right.
You guys could all fight.
I know. And
I'll give you the rose.
As douchebaggy as it probably sounds to a lot of girls that are probably rolling their eyes right now, it was a very memorable moment for me because for me, I went into that night just wanting to have a good time. And I'm also a guy who's comfortable in being in situations like that where it's just like, hey, I'm being very upfront and honest with everybody and I'm just wanting to have a good time. We're taking care of everybody who's coming out. Like there's no expectations on my part. But I'm bringing Katrina along, and I know I'm bringing her into this situation. And most of the other girls all kind of know each other, so Katrina doesn't know anybody. And I invite her, but when I invite her, I tell her, and I say, hey, I want to know if you want to come out. We're going to San Francisco, this, that. And she's like, oh, wow, sounds like a great time. I'm like, yeah, I'm in. And I said, hey, I need to tell you, though, that I'm inviting you to come with me, and I would love for you to have a good time. But I'm also inviting some other girls. I know there's 2 girls that are there. I know both those girls are interested in me and that you'll be in a situation like that. Are you okay with that? And she kind of laughed and she didn't say anything. And then she goes, why did you tell me that? I said, I don't know. I just I respect you and I didn't want you to be uncomfortable and I didn't want that to happen. I'd rather just be upfront about the situation you're walking in. And she just didn't say anything. And then that night, we went out and what happened or what I expected to happen did, which was the 2 other girls were very aggressive. They were always all over me and stuff. And Katrina didn't ever let it bother her. She would dance with me for a while and then go off and do her own thing. And then the other girls would be dancing with me and we were in the limo and the other chicks are hanging all over me and Katrina's talking to everybody else, including them inside there. And I was just so intrigued by her and by that she could be in an environment like that and not allow. And some girls like try to put a front on, like they're all confident like that, but you could always still feel it. Oh yeah, I would be cool. I'd be cool with that. But then you could still see the way they act. They'll still play the game, like hard to get or acting like it doesn't bother them, but it really bothers them. Like nah. Katrina was talking to the girls, hanging on to me. She was talking to other people. She was doing her own thing. When she was talking to me, she was being normal. And it was such an attractive quality about her that it made me ask her out again, and then the rest is history. But that's how we met, and she hates that I share and tell that story. But it's true. It's what made me really fall for her because I thought that was so attractive that
it was her confidence.
Right.
Yeah.
It was so unbelievably confident.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I'll go ahead. Yeah, it's fine. Follow that one up. I met Courtney. She was actually, I think, my 4th or 5th cold call. And I went.
It sounds like you cold call girlfriends.
I do that. Like, hey, you want to be my girlfriend? Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Will you marry me?
Yeah. Wow, it worked the 5th time. No, there was this log at the gym, and I was a brand new trainer. I think I'd been there for maybe like a year, and then no, probably less than that because I got right to the phones to try and build up my clientele. And so, anyways, I caught her. She was like in the middle of like shopping for something at like some like Men's Warehouse for some coat for her job, whatever. Anyways, I got her in, and there was an immediate attraction on my end, nothing from her. So that was interesting to me.
So right away you were like,
because I was a pretty confident guy. Like I had dated, in the past, like she kind of fit my profile in terms of like blonde, hot, my type. Anyways. And so I was like trying to like throw my game at her and everything and nothing back. And I mean, granted, this is the time period where I came back from Chicago and I was like a little fluff. I was not like at my best physical condition. And I was bending over to grab some form and come back and try and like do this whole thing where like, hey, you have 5 sessions, you want to work these out, whatever. And I guess I was like totally sporting like butt crack, and she saw that.
It was the
like
cakes,
laughing.
bro. The cake sold her.
So she has this vivid memory of like me like she's bending like, over. She's like, like with disgust, right? And so, anyways, I somehow close her on like coming in and like working with me, and we had this like funny rapport. Like she's just very sarcastic, and she could like she can take a joke, and she's just anyway. Like I just had this very attractive quality where, I could talk shit with her the whole time we were training, and she would like refuse to do certain exercises, and it threw me off. I'm like, what? Like she's like, no, I don't jump. Like, no, come up with something else. Like she would say shit like that. And like, I would give her this whole meal plan. I spent like hours, a couple days. Cause I was like, I got to show this girl, like I'm the best trainer ever, and like I put all this work into it. And then she's just like, I'm not going to stick with this. This is stupid. And she like threw it in the garbage.
No, she didn't.
Yes, dude. She was like totally, she was like spicy, like I was like, whoa, like what is with this girl? Like what's her problem? And so I guess
love her.
Yeah, it was just like really like she just consumed my thought, and she at the time was dating this guy who was just, some guy who wasn't treating her very well and all that. And I was like, and she would talk about it every now and then about how she couldn't go out, she couldn't do all these things. Like he was very like, would manage and watch everything she did. And she wasn't even supposed to be training with a guy. Like this is how controlling this guy was. And so in her phone, she had me as Justina. And so that was like the code. I was Justina forever in her phone when I would call her and text and see where she was for appointments. But I kept re-signing her, and we kept this thing going for quite a bit. And then it became a thing where I was like, okay, this is getting unprofessional. Like I have feelings for this girl, whatever. And so I ended up passing her along to another trainer, this girl that was working there, just so I could watch and monitor a little bit, so she was still in house. So it was just one of those things where I was so confident at some point it was going to work out. I was just adamant that this is the one. I don't know what it was.
How was the first date? How did you ask her out on the first date?
I asked her out like a billion times. Like I was like shameless about it. Like it was funny because we were like re-signing for one time, and like she was like going up to the counter, and like we just closed the deal, and we're coming up there, and I'm like, so we should just probably go get lunch right now. Like where are you going right now? Where are you going? And she's like, I can't do that. I have a boyfriend, and she'd like leave. And I'm like, that's never going to last, and I would just kept throwing it at her like seeds, and like, anyways, it just
wore her down.
Yeah, it wore her down after a while. And I ended up dating somebody else, and I was dating a few other girls, like just because I was just I was so obsessed with her that I had to like go somewhere else and like do like just get this out of my head. And I was dating this girl at the time, and I was actually at this girl's house, and then I get a text message like, hey, like, what are you doing right now? Like, we should hang out or whatever. And I'm like, what? Where have you been? And it became a thing where I tried to play hard to get at that point, and I was throwing it back at her, and it was this weird like back and forth. And then I finally solidified a date. And what do we go see? We go see what's that one horror movie? The one Hills Have Eyes.
That's the movie you took her
The
to on your
Hills
first
Have Eyes
date?
was our first date.
Oh my God.
And it was like the worst. Like that's like mutants. Like there's like mutants like raping each other. And it was like awful. I wanted to walk out, but I was like, this is our first date. So yeah, that was her idea too. So I throw that back at her. But yeah, it was this really funny kind of dynamic we had. And
Did you kiss her on her first date, or did you have to get? Was that
yeah, I did.
First date?
Yeah,
Good for you.
Yeah, come on.
Well, you've been working with it for a year.
Trust me, that was like the golden goose. It's like
You wore her down.
Yeah, broke it down. But then she ghosted me for a few weeks after that, and because I guess she was still tying things up with her ex-boyfriend or whatever, and I found this out later.
Gotta get your CDs back.
Yeah. So so anyway, but yeah, then I finally won her over completely, and the rest is history. But it was a really funny dynamic that we had, the entire time where I was so confident that it was going to be a thing. I didn't even think twice about it.
Wow, that's a great story. All right, so the first time I met Jessica, so this is after I had sold my studio. We were doing Mind Pump, and we had all decided we're going to do Mind Pump full time. And so I was in the process of transitioning full time. The first thing I had to do was sell my studio, and then the second thing I had to do was transition all my long-term clients. Many of them were with me for 12, 13 years, off to new trainers or whatever. So I was still training people at my old studio, but I had sold it to another trainer. So I'm still training people there. And this is also the tail end of my marriage. At the time, my wife and I knew we were done. We'd known we were done probably for, I don't know, a few years before this period of time. So it's been, and that's the thing, long-term marriages, when people finally make get divorced, you're looking at 5 years worth of work till you get to that point. And we were pretty much done. I'm like, I'm gonna leave, and we're not gonna, we're gonna try and make this work apart or whatever. So I'm training clients, doing Mind Pump. My wife and I are pretty much separated at this point. And the new trainer that owns the gym brings on new trainers, right? Because she's trying to fill it up with new bodies or whatever to build a business. And I come in one day, and there's this girl sitting at the front desk, reading intently. And I don't remember what book she was reading, but it was something obscure. And she had glasses on, and she's kind of reading. And so that right away, I'm kind of intrigued. Like, who's this new person, and what's this big book that she's reading? Yeah, so
it's not like OK Magazine.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
It's like a scientific
so
journal.
I'm like,
oh my God.
I'm like, hey. So I introduce myself, and I say,
Sorry.
Oh my God, sorry, dictionary.
It's an encyclopedia. Yeah. So I'm like, hey, what's your name? My name's Sal, whatever. And she introduces herself, and now at this point, because I'm already in the process of separation and getting a divorce, I honestly, and here's the funny thing, the 3-4 years leading up into this point, I would fantasize about being divorced and then being a bachelor. Like, oh, I'm going to date all these women. I'm going to be on my own. Like, this is whatever. I'm going to be free.
Be hanging out with Dan Bilzerian.
Yeah. But the reality is, once you start to go through that process, at least for me,
you're so exhausted you don't want to do anything.
I don't want.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Dating somebody was the last thing on my mind. I don't care who you are, whatever. You could have thrown women at me. I just had no interest. It was a very difficult, depressing time for me. It almost destroyed me. And so I had no interest at all. And so I meet Jessica for the first time. Now, looking back, I can totally acknowledge that I thought she was absolutely stunning. I think she's absolutely gorgeous, but I couldn't acknowledge it. I wasn't in that space. So I just remember meeting her and immediately just being intrigued by her. So after I would, train my sessions, she would be in there sometimes reading, or she'd be at, outside trying to talk to potential clients or whatever. And I walk up to her and I think I was having a conversation with one of my clients about nutrition, and she kind of overheard it. My client leaves, and she starts to debate me about nutrition. I think it was about carbs, and her and I are going back and forth. And this girl was like, she was very strong with her opinion, and she was debating in a very intelligent way, but not backing down. And I'm a very confident, kind of overpowering person. So we're going back and forth. And I remember after we were done, I'm like, man, you're very opinionated. And she got offended by that. Like, excuse me? And I'm like, no, that's a good thing. I said, you have strong opinions. I like the way you were arguing your side. I said, I think I'm right, but I like the way you were arguing your side. She thought I was like total cocky, right? So then I took her phone, and I'm like, you should listen to my podcast. I said, let me see your phone. So she gave me her phone. I take her phone from her hand, and I automatically subscribe her to Mind Pump. This was actually my strategy.
Oh my God, this is what we were all doing back then. I remember that. We were first starting out.
This was my strategy. It's how I got people listening.
I almost forgot that we used to do this.
Yeah,
in fact, we used to hold each other accountable that when you go work out, your job was to grab five phones
and put them on Mind Pump.
Subscribe them.
So I did that. I took her phone, and I subscribed her to Mind Pump, and I'm like, check out my podcast. So she started listening to Mind Pump, and she became a fan. She really liked what we talked about. And so when she would be in the gym, I would just talk to her here and there or whatever. So this is maybe a month. A month into knowing her or whatever. And we weren't like super good friends. She would text me every once in a while a question about exercise or, like what's going on in the studio tomorrow, but nothing major. Like, again, remember my mental state is I had no intentions of talking to anybody or anything. So then fast forward, we make the decision. I move out. I move out of the house. We're totally done. And I come to the studio, and I don't remember what I came to the studio for, but it was late at night. I was staying with my brother at the time, and Jessica just happened to end a date. So she came off a date, and for some reason, and I asked her about this now, and she said she didn't know. She just wanted to stop by the studio to see if anyone was there. It was like 9 o'clock at night. So she comes in, I'm there, and the first thing I tell her is like, well, and then she didn't know that I had all these troubles beforehand because I didn't know her well enough. It wasn't like I shared my life with her or anything like that. So I told her, I said, it's crazy you just came in here. I said, I literally just left my house. I said, we're getting a divorce or whatever. And she's like, oh man. So we had this great conversation, But again, it was totally mutual. We're just friends. And so from that point on, she would come into the gym and she asked me if she could watch me train people and ask questions. And I said, absolutely, because she wanted to learn to be a new trainer. I had now built that authority because she had listened to the podcast. So she thought to herself she could learn some things. And so what would end up happening is she would stay there all day while I'd training clients, and I'd find myself magnetized to this woman. And again, I'm not acknowledging what it is. I just know that I want to talk to her all the time. So then maybe, I don't know, a few weeks into that, I'm at my brother's house and I invite the owner of the studio and Jessica over to hang out with my brother. And it was going to be this totally mutual thing. The owner of the studio, she had her partner, her girlfriend, long-term. I'm friends with them. Jessica and I, totally platonic. So I invited them over. Well, last minute, the owner of the studio flaked, couldn't come. So, Jessica and I are on text, and she's like, hey, Megan says she can't make it anymore. I'm like, that kind of sucks. I'm like, well, if you want, you can come over anyway. She's like, all right, cool, I'll come over. So she comes over, and she's hanging out with my brother and I, and we're just chilling there, and we're getting into, we're having kind of the surface level conversation that I fucking hate. And it real quick got deep. Like right away, we're talking about crazy shit, getting real deep about all kinds of different subjects. My brother's like, it was funny because he was getting in the conversation, but I think he could tell that he wasn't in the conversation anymore. It was just her and I. So he just like,
I gotta go.
Yeah, no, he just went off and started watching TV or whatever. And her and I are just having this crazy conversation. Next thing I know, it's like 3:00 in the morning. My brother's asleep. He went to bed. And her and I are she's sitting on the couch, and I'm having this really deep conversation, and I'm asking her like, what would you like, how did you grow up, and what would you do if you had all the money in the world? And she asked me, what would you do if you had all the money in the world? And I said, oh, well, gosh, I've had these ideas for these nonprofit organizations. She's like, me too. And we start getting, and then right away, I first acknowledged, oh shit, I like this girl. Like at 3:00 in the morning, I've been talking to her for 5 hours. I'm super, super into her. And then I acknowledged it for the first time, like, oh shit, I like her. I stopped right there, and then I said something like, oh, I should go to bed, because I did not want to get into any kind of a relationship with anybody. I just got divorced. I'm like, fuck no, I'm not in that space. So she leaves, and I laid there in bed, and I literally thought about her the entire time, and I thought to myself, like, I'm not going to text her anymore. I can't be in the situation. So I try to sleep, 8 a.m., I get up, I look at my phone, and she texted me. And she was just like, hey, it was nice hanging out, whatever. So then from that day on, we just kind of hung out. And then there was one period where we went on a date. This was maybe like a few days later. We went on a date to a restaurant, and we're sitting there talking. And I think that's when she realized, because she was also in that same position. She didn't want to date anybody. She didn't want to go out with anybody. She had just gotten divorced a couple years earlier. But we're sitting there, and I think she got kind of weird for a second, and she's like, "We're just friends, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we're just friends." No, we weren't just friends. That was it. Like we were completely enamored with each other, and I'd never experienced anything. It was like being on the craziest drug I've ever been on.
Do you remember when the first time that you admitted to her and told her that you liked her?
Oh my God, it was like I had felt like this ridiculous magnetism to her. And I think we were at my brother's house. This was after we had that date, and we're sitting there and we're talking, and I'm like, and I told her, I'm like, I have to be honest with you. I'm like, just magnetized to you. I don't know what it is. I'm just so incredibly attracted to you. And I said, but it's more than just, I think you're attractive. I'm just very attracted. I was very, very honest. And she said the same thing back to me. And it was just this super powerful thing that I couldn't overcome, and that was it. And it was at that point that I could finally allow myself to acknowledge that I was all the things, physically attracted to her, mentally stimulated by her, like everything. And then it was just fucking fire from there. And like I said, it was like a drug. It was crazy. We would literally lay in bed next to each other, and we'd look at each other and just talk, and we'd do it I wasn't sleeping. There was no sleep. It was like I was up all night, and then I'd come and we'd record podcasts, and I was just in this crazy state, and it's been awesome. But the circumstances that surround our relationship were far from perfect. I was just getting divorced. She had to then learn how to live with, kids part-time and all that stuff. But it's been awesome ever since. But at that point, I told her this many times, I know what they write songs about now. I remember telling her that many times. Like when people write songs about falling in love, and I used to listen to them and be like, I know what they mean now. You know what I mean? Really crazy.
That's the line right there.
Yeah. That's it. That's there. And with that, you can find
Love you, girl.
all of our guides, all of our free guides at mindpumpfree.com. We have a new guide on there. It's a hard gainer guide. If somebody that struggles with building muscle and putting on weight, you want to read this guide. It's free, but it'll instruct you on what you need to do to get your body progressing in the muscle building arena. You can also find us all on Instagram. You can find Justin at MindPumpJustin. You can find me at MindPumpSal and Adam at MindPumpAdam.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.